Welcome to Turn Right Machine Works. My name is Keith. Now here I'm using my 5/8 pin bolt to hold this in the vise because I got a half-inch hole that I want to, well, I'm drilling it out 15-30 seconds, then I'm going to ream it half-inch. And this is plasma cut on the outside, so I couldn't hold it in the vise to keep a square cut. So I went through with a 1/4-inch drill bit for a pilot, and then I'm going through it with the 30 seconds, and I'm going to ream it with a half-inch. But I'm using this over here to keep it from rotating, and with it laying flat across the jaws, I'm able to keep a nice square cut. So I was just kind of, this is how I'm putting this hole in here real fast. It doesn't have to be exactly center, or I center punched it from by eye. It's not drilling it that's the hard part. It's when you pierce the other side is when it takes off and either takes you for a ride or breaks off the drill or bends the drill. There we are. Alright, so we took a piece of cold roll and it was already skimmed on there. We just had to sand it. We faced it off and we drilled another 3/8 hole in here, and we gave us about an inch depth here. Now we're going to part off 2 rings here, and one we want, I say about 5/8 of an inch, because we're going to put a hole in through the side, which is going to have the half-inch pin that's going to lift that arm up and down. Alright, so we're going to part this one off, and then we're going to part off a ring that will slide on the shaft that we're making to be the thrust for bringing the arm back down. Alright, now this next one here, let's give it a little clean face here first. We can do that. Cold roll always kind of gives you a terry finish unless you're really spinning it up hot fast. And okay, we got enough depth in there? Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to give ourselves, I at least think about 3/8 of an inch here. Okay, we got our heavy hex nut here, and we got our 2 pins, and we're going to make a trunnion nut out of this. And I'm just getting a little bit of silver solder here, and I want to go ahead and lube up these holes. Now I've got a bolt in here because I want them to not go all the way in, and I know that I'm going to have to clean these threads out with a tap, but I don't want to sit there and have to tap excess material. And so what I've done is put the nut in there, partially put it in there. I don't need the nut to be all the way through there. Just want to create a back off a little bit for clearance for the tap to get started in there. And there we go. Alright, and also too, I didn't really clean this bolt really good, but I did clean the nut and the bore so that the silver solder would take there. Now some of the silver I'm hoping won't go in there, and I'm going to try to keep the heat off of the bolt itself so it doesn't transfer there. But we're just going to try to get the silver solder into the pins and create a trunnion nut. Alright, so we got some silver paste in there. And alright, so let's go ahead and get our torch lid off here. And I cleaned my tip for Bill there today. A little tiny feather on the bottom there, Bill, but I'm sure it'll be okay. You gotta get both parts heated pretty close to the same for the silver solder to take. And that flux has got to melt all through there. The flux will break down and join way before the silver solder is ready to go. You gotta watch for the color. You want that golden red. When that starts coming, then you can start attempting to add your heat or your silver solder. Alright, cook right in there. That was quick enough, and while we have it hot, we're going to see if we can get, yep, we can turn the nut. Alright, so we didn't jam it on there. Let me speak to, okay, we didn't jam it on there, and the silver did take on the 2 pins, so looks like we have a trunnion nut. Okay, the next item we're fluxing up is the lead screw itself. And this will go down into the threaded nut, and this is the bottom washer surface that will be pushing up, and then we'll have a sleeve with another collar here, and the handle will mount up here. And we chose this so that we can assemble and disassemble the part in pieces here. But we wanted to join this in. Instead of doing all this turning, we took 2 bolts and we went head to head. Now when you're doing something down in a bore like this, it wants to create pressure and lift that piece out. So sometimes you gotta hold both of them together, because the gas presses will actually rise it right out of the bore there. See? Sometimes you gotta chase it down. I was looking for something to hold it down with. Once it normalizes in there, you'll be able to work with it. Alright, there's our lead screw now. Okay, now we're prepping the actual support that comes off of the arm itself that the lead screw travels through. And we're going to start getting this gooped up. Now all these parts, I find that like carburetor cleaner or something like that, kind of spray, get in the nooks and crannies, and then go ahead and blow them off with air, and it readily cleans pretty good. Now this has an escape hole at the bottom, so it shouldn't pop up out of there like that bolt did, but you should always be ready for it in case it does. Alright. Most mistakes that I see with silver solder is one, not cleaning it, two, not being patient enough to heat it up uniformly, pretty much always get the flux in there. And there's the support for the lead screw. Okay, we found the right transfer punch, and what we did is we've got our pin that's going to be doing the raising and lowering. We're not going to worry about pinning it, keeping it in there. It will be held in there pretty much with its close proximity of where it's going to be, but we wanted to put it in there. Everything else is mounted solid. And we're just kind of getting a vertical stance right here, and we're going to go with that for center of the hole in the plate down here. Alright, we'll go ahead and we'll pull this apart, and we're going to stick this in the mill. We're going to come over here and we're going to put a round hole, and we're going to put two slots for the trunnion to ride in, and then the nut will be able to, we'll be able to okay, we'll be mounting that trunnion there. Alright, so we got the base in here, and we're gonna go ahead and line up with our center punch that we did for the feed nut here, trunnion nut, whichever you like to call it. Alright, we're gonna call that the spot. And all we're going to basically do is put a hole in here, and then we're going to switch over to in-mill mode. Okay, now we want to do our end milling from the other side, so we're going to flip this part right on over here, and we can go like this and locate, and we're going to call that center. Alright, now we can go ahead and switch on over. Now, when I get into these larger sizes, I don't like to put them in my Albright chuck, so I like to take this out and put the half-inch collet in and actually run the larger drills in the half-inch collet. You know, it just takes a couple times of spinning a drill in your Jacob's chuck, and then you pretty well just like wasted the freaking thing out, you know.